బాబు బ్యాక్ రా అమ్మా. హలో బాబు బ్యాక్ 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 బ్యాక్.
Dia and Reva to please come up onto stage. And as a token of our welcome and appreciation, I'd like to request Nanika to please present a bouquet to Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai. And I'd like to request Dia and Reva to present a bouquet to Mr. Nikhil Siddhartha. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please hear it for our guests this evening and the lovely little girls who've welcomed them so beautifully.
Hello.
Journalist, author, and man that India loves to watch during prime time. Sir, please come to the podium and address the gathering. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here in Hyderabad. Your weather is as warm as the people of Hyderabad, so it's one of the best cities in the country to come to. So thank you very much, first of all, for having me here in Hyderabad. Before anything else, I think rather than me, we should be celebrating young Ishanvi. So she deserves another round of applause for what she's achieved. You know, I do a quiz show for young school kids. We had to stop it during COVID, but it was a great opportunity to talk to young children. And maybe next time I should have a quiz question. Who is the youngest published author in the country? And who knows? The answer could well be Ishanvi. So congratulations, because you might well find yourself on the next round of quiz to be the youngest to have been published. I'll also tell you why I think it's very special that a 10-year-old should do what Ishanvi has done. This is the Instagram age. This is the age of social media where you're supposed to write everything in 280 characters. My children once showed me something called Snapchat. Now I didn't understand what it was because the photograph went off inside a minute. But apparently that is the magic of the times in which we live. Everything is instant. It's here today, it's gone tomorrow. Now in this age, very few people therefore, particularly of Ishanvi's age, seem to spend enough time in actually putting together something which can be remembered even 5-10 years from now, a book. This is not the book age. When we grew up, many of you here, we used to think about it. We didn't have mobile phones, we didn't even have internet, so we actually wrote letters to each other. You know, in Hindi they say, प्यार होता था खत से. You know, old Hindi films or even Telugu films, I'm sure, the romance was over letters. Today no one writes letters to each other. They're all on the mobile, talking to each other or doing FaceTime with each other. As a result, the art of writing, the art of communicating through words is increasingly being lost. I had actually started this quiz program to encourage young people to at least read newspapers, to maybe watch the news. Some of them do, but the truth is many of us don't, or many of our children don't. Many of the adults also don't. You see a family now across a table, each of them is looking at their mobile. None of them is actually talking to each other. They have very little time to actually talk to each other. So Ishanvi has reminded us that there is a world of letters that still exists. And I think that's what makes this book special. When we grew up because of Enid Blyton. And there were books like Famous Five and Secret Seven. Then another generation came up which grew up on J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. Now maybe you can start a series called Mysterious Mayhem. and every year bring out a book which can tell us something about the mysteries of this world. As I said, for a young girl to do this is quite remarkable. To have it illustrated, and you've illustrated it very well, is even more special. Because I think when you tell a story to younger people, they want the story through pictures. Now, Enid Blyton was an adult. J.K. Rowling was an adult. For young people to tell stories to the young, excited people out there makes it even more special. Let me also say that, as I said, when we were growing up, we had Amar Chitra Katha. And that was also illustrated. History was illustrated. So the illustrations make your book, Ishanvi, even more special. And I think there is the innocence of the young in your book writing which makes it special. That you actually imagine all these lovely stories around you. And all of us actually have one story in our lives which we should tell. Each one of us is capable of telling one story. Some of us may tell it in 500 words, some of us may tell it in 100,000 words, but we all have stories because we allow our imagination to run free. I'm also glad that you've done this because we are finally in this audience without masks looking at life beyond COVID, hopefully. For 2 years we were all stuck to each other. But I think in those 2 years while we were stuck at home, we remembered things like family. We remembered that we could talk to each other. Otherwise we were all living in a world far apart from each other. But we were brought together by COVID. Which is why I think, Ishanvi, it's not just you today who deserves big credit. It's your parents who perhaps deserve even more credit than you for encouraging you to do this. I saw a program last night. It was a program on Netflix of the great racing driver Lewis Hamilton. And Lewis Hamilton's father was there. And Lewis Hamilton's father, and there were old pictures of young Lewis Hamilton doing go-karting at the age of 10. And Lewis Hamilton's father says, I saw in my child the potential and I saw that my child dreamt of car racing. My job was only to give wings to his dreams. Your parents, Ishanvi, and I know your father in particular is a driving force, as I'm sure is your mother, have given wings to your dreams. And therefore they deserve a huge amount of credit. Because without your parents and without all our parents in a way, we would be nothing. As young people, we often forget all too easily what is the debt that we owe our parents. Because they are the ones who in a way inspire us. So when you go home tonight, remember to give them a special kiss and affection for what they've done for you to bring out and encourage you to bring out this book. So all I can say at the very end, may there be many more wings that will enable you to fly, write many more books, explore your creativity, and who knows, one day you might be India's answer to Harry Potter. So all the very best to you and your lovely friends. Thank you very much once again for having me here. I feel a little old in this gathering, and that's good. Because when you're grey hair and I see all these young excited faces, it's always nice to be among the young. Because when you're among the young, you can also get inspired to be youthful. All the very best, and yes, do start reading newspapers also and read the news occasionally. You don't only have to know what film stars are doing. You can also know sometimes what your politicians and others are doing as well. So have a great time. Thank you very much once again.
That message was truly wonderful, and thank you for the reminders, the simple reminders. It's also inspiring to learn that you're inspired by the young, so that we can get inspired by them and speak to the old. On that note, it is now time to introduce to all of you and showcase the journey of what has transformed this little girl from a regular 10-year-old girl to a girl that has authored a book at the age of 10. It's been an incredible 2 years, right? Ladies and gentlemen, here's the journey.
Hello everyone. You know, I never imagined in my wildest dreams that one day I would become an author. Until now. Firstly, thank you so much to each and every one, especially Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, Nikhil uncle, my loving grandparents, my family members, my relatives, my friends, my parents' friends, and everyone. I'm super overwhelmed with happiness and I feel uplifted and amazing. Frankly speaking, I was a bundle of nerves before I came up to speak, and I've had butterflies in my stomach since the day I found out that there are going to be so many people here. To all the people here, I'd like to briefly talk about my journey. Since I was a little girl, my mom used to read me a lot of bedtime stories, which actually ignited the reader in me. As I grew up, I started to read so much that now I have a library of books. Some of my favorite books include Wonder, Daughter of the Deep, and many, 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 many more. R.J. Palacio, which is the author of Wonder, according to me, is an amazing author because she made me believe that not all people are bad. I also love how she writes from different perspectives. Like this, there's so many other authors that I think really highly of. The books I like, the authors I admire, and the recent years of pandemic kick-started my journey of becoming an author. I started drafting my story in December 2020. It started off as a fun task, but it gradually turned into something big. Stories led to chapters, and chapters led to creating a book. The characters, the setting, the entire plot of the book occurred to me as I was engrossed in it. Many times there were days when I had writer's block, but my mom and dad motivated me and kept me on my toes. I was a mix of emotions on this journey. Happy, tired, elated, frustrated, and finally overjoyed that I was ready with the first draft. Then came in Miss Meera, the mentor who helped me transfer my book into the final draft. I'm always going to be so grateful to her. Later, my father informed me that this book was going to be published, which by the way I thought was a joke. But it wasn't, because here we are. They've always been super supportive. This has been my journey until now, but I realized that this is just the beginning. Yes, I plan to write more. Meanwhile, I'd love it if you all got a chance to read my book and support me in my endeavor to become an amazing author. Thank you.
First of all, a very good afternoon to everybody present here. And it's a very tough act once you have somebody as amazing as Rajdeep Sardesai sir here speaking. Speaking after him is like is a daunting task. I thought he was enough, but then I had Ishani speak after him, and Ishani did an amazing job, like hitting the ball out of the park. So I am very nervous for the first time speaking on stage now. So sir, we have always grown up watching you speak, sir, and a lot of our vocabulary has come from, like, some of it has been picked up from you too, so you're an inspiration. And when I look at Ishanvi today, I'm reminded of myself. I mean, don't think you'll become like me later on, but I'm reminded of my 11-year-old self, because as I was just saying, Enid Blyton was the bread and butter, for every kid back in the 1980s, 1990s. So my first book was, I still remember it as 5 Go to Billycock Hill. That was the famous 5 book which I read, which was given to me by my mother, and she encouraged me to read. And from then on, I always had this burning desire to write too as a kid, but I couldn't. So now when I see you, I can say how privileged you are to get this opportunity. And as you said, your family has been very supportive, Shami, especially Divya Garu and Raja, we call him Raja, Rajshekar Reddy Garu. So both of them have been very supportive, and I'm telling you this, you are very, very lucky to have this opportunity, and you have made full use. Because I've gone through this, I've gone through the pictures, and part of it is beautiful. So the first review is coming from me, guys. This book is a hit. Mysterious Mayhem is a very good read, and I would have enjoyed this. I enjoy this even now. So I must have enjoyed this as a kid. So all of you go get your copy on Amazon, and you already have just heard that all the proceedings are going to go for a very good organization called T-Hope, which I am happy to be a part of also, because Rajan has made me a part of it too. And it is a very good cause. So every single rupee that you're going to spend is going to go for education purposes for the underprivileged. I cannot say much more, but the only thing I can say is that telling stories is a very noble job. So through movies, I try to do my bit by telling stories too. So good messages, as you said, and I really love this message which you talked about, Ishani, about if you cannot blend in. How can you blend in when you want to stand out? So I truly believe in that, and every single book of yours, I'm sure, is going to give a message. And I try to do that through my movies, and so does it every day through his wonderful opinions and news stuff. I'm really proud that you've achieved this, Ishani. I've seen you as a kid. I know we played cricket together and all that, but I never knew that you were this brilliant. So congratulations again, and this should definitely inspire more kids to come forward and not just blog or vlog. I think that's good too, but sometimes also think about writing a book and putting your thoughts on paper through pen. So it's a very powerful medium. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Amazing that a 10-year-old girl like Ishani has brought a book like this out. This must be some kind of a record that a 10-year-old can bring out a book like this, and it goes on Amazon. So it's a moment of pride for Hyderabad, for her parents, and indeed for the country that young people can bring out a book at the age of 10. So it's a bit of a world record in a way. Yes, I read the book. I read the book before I came. It is an adventure book, but the best thing is that the illustration. All the books, the entire book has lovely photographs. So it's a book for children by a child. That is the difference, that most books for children are written by adults. This is a book for children written by a child from Hyderabad. I have said this before, out of all India's metros, Hyderabad is the best city. I am not saying it because I am in Hyderabad, but it is actually the best city to come to, because it is the easiest city to move around it. All the other cities are getting overcrowded. Even Hyderabad is getting more crowded now, but it is still better than the others.
Media valandariki a very good evening. Today I've come for a very nice cause, and it's a book launch of Ishani Kesariti. And Ishani Nagela Sante, she's not only a very without and Karnam is Ishani Kesariti, and she's a 11-year-old